What's up, everybody? Welcome to SYFI Live from New York Comic-Con. You guys having a good second day so far? Yeah, we're hanging in there. I'm Andre, and we're about to talk about a little franchise known as Star Wars. Anyone heard of it? Anyone heard of Star Wars? And of course, you got the movies, all that stuff, but we know what it's all about. It's about that merch. It's about those collector's items, those toys. And so we're going to talk to some people here from Hasbro. We got Steve Evans, the design director, and Patrick Snyder, the senior of global band manager. And we're going to talk about some of Hasbro Star Wars toys, right?
Yeah.
I can't wait. Yeah. We got a lot to tell you.
Yes, we got some stuff. And of course, accompanying me is a wonderful, the awesome Katie Wilson. What's up, Katie?
Thank you. I was like, oh, can I pass myself off as being a toy designer? I don't know.
Yeah, we're senior toy collectors. That's what we are.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's get right into it. So I'm sure people are interested in seeing what you brought with us today. So let's start with the Star Wars Black Series, which is always a fun one.
Absolutely.
Those good collector items. So what do you have for us in that realm?
Absolutely. This is on. Great. So Star Wars Black Series is our kind of premium 6-inch fan-focused line. It launched 5 years ago in 2013, and we've been chatting with some fans here at the con. But basically, it launched with some great, recognizable Star Wars characters. Skywalker, Anakin Skywalker, Boba Fett, some real recognizable household names. And so as we've talked with fans, online at Comic-Cons, they say, Black Series is fantastic. Like, you guys are putting out some great characters. That's easy for me to say. We love the stuff
Patrick,
you're
it's
doing.
all you.
I know, exactly.
It's all
us and the guys at home. They love the stuff, but they also need that stuff that we put out 5 years ago when this line launched in 2013. We've heard it at the cons, and so back in Rhode Island at Hasbro, we've talked about the best way to do that. So we discussed just perhaps re-releasing some of these top figures, but we know fans who collect them in the original packaging wouldn't be too happy with that. And so we announced San Diego Comic-Con, that other Comic-Con, that we were releasing a new line called the Star Wars Archive. It's a very good Star Wars-y word, archive. And basically we'd be taking those top figures that are selling for large amounts on the aftermarket and bringing them to fans so they don't have to spend those crazy amounts. So at San Diego Comic-Con, we announced our first wave of those archive figures, which was Luke Skywalker, and then 3 of our classic bounty hunters from Empire Strikes Back, Boba Fett, IG-88, and Bosk. We revealed our second wave yesterday, but one thing we haven't shown people yet, and we will be showing you now, is our products in the packaging, because the packaging is very important. So we brought our 3 bounty hunters today in their packaging.
So this is the very first time that we're seeing this, right?
Yeah.
Very first time.
I just love that we're talking about showing these off in packaging, and we have this wonderful little brown box here.
It's an unboxing video.
We are literally making an unboxing video.
So here is the new archive packaging.
Very simple.
We didn't want to upset those that had spent $200 on the original blue and black packaging, so there you go. No, I'm only joking. It's my little box of tricks.
Very authentic there. All right, so we're getting the unboxing going. I feel like I should be playing some royalty-free music right now. There we go. There we go.
So
Just get rid of the mock.
Brush the dust off of it.
What do you got?
Okay. Who's at the top?
Oh, it's like Christmas. we got. Don't look.
Oh, IG-88, a good one.
Show that.
So this is, I don't know what, there's the camera. This is first time, you guys here, first time ever anyone seeing
You lucky
IG-88 archive
people.
in his packaging. So a lot of thought went into this packaging. We have lots of meetings, our days are spent, a lot of meetings, my calendar's crazy. But basically a lot of conversations about the best way to do that. What we wanted to do is harken back to kind of the heritage of Star Wars packaging, but also the Black Series. So it's got a lot of the same kind of design and aesthetic touches of our Black Series design and packaging, but we also know we wanted this archive to be a timeless expression. We see this as our greatest hits or our Hall of Fame. This packaging is never going to change, so it has to stand the test of time. And in Star Wars land, there's nothing more timeless than the vintage card back, the blister card that launched Star Wars toys 41 years ago. So we saw nothing better to put our archive packaging on than a classic blister card. On the back here, you can see we reference that. Oh, look at that. we reference that original packaging that it came in with some details about that. So this is our archive packaging IG-88, celebrating the heritage of Star Wars. And here we've got his good friend Boss.
Very nice.
And then finally the bounty hunter everyone's heard of.
Yeah.
Clearly someone has stolen Luke.
Yeah.
I haven't got him in the box.
We wanted to focus on the bounty hunter.
He didn't have a chromium cover, did he? That sounds neat.
Not yet. So, those are our 3 bounty hunters in the archive line. The reason we released the 3 of these, if you're a Star Wars fan, and I know that if you're in this crowd you are, the bounty hunters from Star Wars are, I think probably bounty hunters and Cantina aliens are the most iconic kind of sets of characters,
You
right?
people obviously love a rogue, don't they?
What's that?
They love a rogue. These
Exactly,
people.
the rogue.
Yes.
So as a result, the bounty hunter kind of collection within a collection for Black Series is important. We released 2 of the other bounty hunters this year for LOM and Dengar and Zuckuss as well to form all 6. So we wanted to bring these 3 back so that collectors would be able to get them all in one shot.
Cool.
So that is our archive line.
Very nice, very nice. I see some people already eyeballing it. I see there's already someone has a Black Series figure right there in the front row.
Who's that?
What do you got there?
Oh, it's Zuvio!
Nice.
Zuvio should definitely go in the archive series. I would definitely buy 400,000 of the Zuvio. Yeah,
Very cool.
So would you.
So those are very awesome. So since we're already talking archives, why don't we go down to vintage? We got the Star Wars vintage collection, and I believe I see the box there, which is very beautiful. It reminds me of my childhood very much.
Yeah, this is our new Imperial Assault tank that's just come out on the market. It's available in shops now, and all good retailers, etc., etc. And we kind of wanted to show a little bit like how we made this, because everyone just thinks we kind of hit a button and it just gets made. That's I wish. I really wish it was that easy. So
Sometimes we marketers think
yeah. just make a tank, Steve. Just make a tank. It's no problem at all. So we kind of wanted to. We got some. We robbed the office of Mark Boudreau, who is our seasoned designer at Hasbro, who used to work at Kenner, and Mark actually worked on every single movie. He's probably one of the only few people in the world who's actually been directly involved in every Star Wars movie, as it were, indirectly. Indirectly. Yeah. And so I went and robbed him. I basically stole all his kind of stuff that he used to make this. So I just kind of wanted to share it with everybody.
All right.
So, first of all, what Mark does, because he doesn't have much time on his hands, yeah, thanks, man, is so just after we saw Rogue One and everyone else watched it, we loved it. We said, oh, that tank is awesome. We could make one of those for Vintage Collection, which we knew we were going to announce as coming back. So Mark goes away and he uses foam core and cardboard and makes a model that he thinks is in the right proportions, and it starts off like that. And this is his actual one. So this is a couple of years old.
Wow.
And he will build that and he will show us, and we will say, oh, that's cool. Yeah. What? All right. Let's do this. How much? What are we going to do? Let's do it. So the next stage after the foam core model is that we then.
And I was actually remembering we made this. We wanted a model. We had kind of internal meetings to get the company sold on this. We had like 2 weeks, and again, being the marketers, we were like, we can have some sort of plastic model, right? And Mark is like, no, well, I can get you the foam core, so we produced that.
This is the story of my life. Marketing going, can you just? We need that, and I'm like, you can have a cardboard one.
And it worked. Obviously, it turned out great.
So next stage after that is that we get into sculpting. So we're using digital sculpting, and Mark and the team are starting to kind of pull it all together and starting to work out the geometry and the diameters and the wall thickness, and then we do what's called a check model. So they take those 3D parts and they print them out on 3D printers, and we get something like this. So you can start to see it's starting to look a little bit, I've got to kind of watch it, looking a little bit more like the Thing, and
Wow.
and then there's a ton of pieces as well.
Just jump on out.
And the rest of our time, you need
it's
to
like
put this all
50, it's
together.
like 50 or 60 pieces, and I just want to highlight how much detail goes into our vintage line. Those of you who've got this are looking at it beautifully, but you haven't torn it apart, I hope, unless you buy 2, in which case, good on you. The amount of detail and I've got to work like opposite. The amount of detail that goes into here is incredible. Layers and layers of piping and tubing, and Mark is is an expert at adding Imperial filigree, flourishes, that's the word he uses, flourishes on these things. So if there's like a bit that's a bit plain in the actual prop, he'll add Imperial kind of lines and stuff. And who knew that there are particular Imperial square panels that have a very certain
I
proportion.
actually did not know that until this moment.
It's insane.
I'm learning along with everyone else.
And this is probably my favourite part of the tank, which Patrick will get for me. Eventually. Is there's actually a little coffee cup inside this tank, so even Imperial drivers and commanders need their Dunkin' Donuts.
Stay away.
Oh, are we allowed to advertise? Sorry. The Imperial runs on Dunkin'. And so there we have it. We have all this kind of stuff. It's amazing. So we check model that, and then we move to tooling, and that's when we actually get to the proper stuff, the thing that you're going to get.
Some space.
Absolutely.
Oh, it even moves. You can get that. Look, we even the actual tanks move, the treads move. Really cool. And then we finally get to the finished piece. He says one-handed. Patrick, could you get over that box for me, please? Thank you.
Yes, we are taking it out of the box. Everyone knows
Oh yeah, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. Well,
There's a few people that fainted right now.
It's kind of cool now, all this rough unboxing, isn't it? So, and then we have the final one there. It's absolutely beautiful. We kind of, he says, no, I got it. So we got all the little kyber crystal containers. We've even made it here where they actually have the kyber crystal containers inside. And if I pick the right one, oh look at that, I did pick the right one. There's one actually got kyber crystals inside.
Oh, wow.
So highly detailed, incredibly looking, and that is basically how we go from a cardboard cutout that someone's done really quickly because marketing wants it, to the finished product that hopefully you guys will want. And yours, of course.
Well, it's really cool to see the comparison side by side. The piece over there.
It's actually.
That's a good.
I've never actually. Look at that, it's spot on.
That's perfect.
Spot on. There you go. We should just sell that.
And it's
There you
great.
go.
You mentioned kind of the detail here. It's a conversation we have a lot with the vintage collection because, like the Black Series, it is our fan-focused line. And so, Mark and Steve will talk about kind of all of the details in here. And obviously, there's a cost for all of those, but we know that our vintage fans, they want that level of realism and detail and movie accuracy. So that's something we place a priority on for the vintage collection.
But like all good collectors, I've got to keep it in the box.
Absolutely. I would like to talk a little bit about where your love of Star Wars first came from. Were you always collecting Star Wars toys as a kid?
Does it show?
I mean, I
Yeah,
think
a little
so.
Yeah, no, I was a big Star Wars kid. I think back in those days, there wasn't so many brands that you could kind of get involved in. You were like Transformers, Star Wars, or Joe, or Action Man back in England. I was always a Star Wars kid from the age of about 5 up until embarrassingly about sort of 13. Then I kind of like discovered teenage years. I kind of did that, and then I came back in when I was about 16, 17, and kind of rebought it all again, like I'm sure a lot of you did as well. So I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I love it as well. So for me, I think the Star Wars movies, maybe other people had this experience, but they were some of the main or only movies like on reruns just all over again on some of those cable channels, PBS, TNT, whatnot. And so just watch them over and over again. I remember for whatever reason, episode 4 wasn't on for a few years, and so I saw it for the first time after having seen Empire and Jedi, which was probably not the best way to watch them, but it was still fantastic.
You were lucky. Like in England, we had 3 channels. 3 channels. I had to have a pirated copy.
Should embarrass underprivileged.
And just watched it over and over and over and over again.
And I love the toys as well, but I really got into the books in the 90s, the Heir to the Empire series, the True Sepakura, all of those. And so I think my favorite product that we've done is the Grand Admiral Thrawn Black Series figure. We actually, when I interviewed at Hasbro, I kind of casually dropped Grand Admiral Thrawn, and that's when the designers were like, okay, he's one of us.
He knows one
exactly.
thing.
So I always say my life will be complete, on the Star Wars brand when we finally do, and there are no plans for this, a Joris Chabat Heir to the Empire
You and your
Black
blue
Series figure. That'd be amazing.
You and your toys.
How do you turn such a passion and love for something into a career? That's so cool.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I joined Hasbro as 20 years next year. I joined when the prequels were launched, And there was a job came up in Hasbro London, and I was just like, it wasn't Star Wars, it was nothing to do with Star Wars. I was just like, oh, if I can get in, I can get free figures. And I didn't get free figures. I got a bit of a staff discount, but there were so many of them, I still spent a lot of money. But yeah, it's just getting in and perseverance.
Do they give you free figures now at least?
Yeah, I just don't tell them, I just keep them.
Like he steals it, like he stole
He
these
just
things.
steals them.
The barge yak face is coming out with me for sale, even though I've already ordered my barges, so.
I know for me, I was interviewing with some different companies a few years ago, and so I looked at Hasbro, and they had an opening for, I think, a preschool gaming job. And I was like, I want to be on the East Coast, Hasbro's fantastic, so absolutely. And then that job got filled, and they were like, well, it was actually filled by the guy who works on Star Wars, so now that position is open. Is there any chance you'd be interested in that? And after about, 10 seconds of mumbling, I was like, absolutely. So,
Wow.
yeah, lucky
That's
turn of
incredible.
events.
That's
Great. So you guys had some recent reveals yourselves. Would you like to share those in case anyone missed them?
Yeah, you want to?
Yeah.
I'm going to get rid of this though. I don't want to take
Yeah.
this back. There's a lady over there who's holding a phone up to me. She
There
was
we go. I
begging
think
for
she raised her
toys.
hand earlier.
Oh, are we giving away? Oh, that's so nice!
First giveaway of the day, I heard.
Giveaway!
There we go.
That Fox the cameraman, didn't
That
it?
is yours.
Absolutely.
That is yours.
That's
Congratulations.
for me to carry. Don't worry. You are doing me a favor.
That's it.
Yeah, so we've got some new reveals that I don't want to take time for, but I think we have a little time to talk about maybe General Grievous yesterday.
Oh, Grievous. I'm sorry it took so long. I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
But we're there with Grievous. He's amazing. I know the photographs are going out on Instagram at the moment. Many of you may have noticed that we actually set up the model wrong at our desk side. Did you know that? We had the cape all wrong. We missed the collar. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
The Star Wars fans won't notice that.
Yeah, they will. Oh, they will. I've already been told many times. But yeah, Grievous is fantastic. It's literally the number one figure that people have been asking for many years. It is the one I get pinned up against walls and said, where is General Grievous? And he was just too big to produce, so now we've got him in our new $29.99 line, and he is coming along swimmingly.
And just for our fans out there to kind of tie the past to the present, we actually did a survey online 2 years ago, and he was in there, and based on the results of that survey, that's what Steve's talking about, that he was the number one requested figure. So if you remember taking that survey 2 years ago, you contributed to General Grievous.
Eventually get around to it.
Yeah, exactly. Make it into the line today. So.
Well, I think that's awesome that you take this opportunity to talk to fans and see what their requests are, and then that turns into actual products.
I think, yeah.
It's absolutely vital. I mean, at the end of the day, Star Wars fans are probably the most passionate fans in the world, and they have opinions. They have real opinions, and they love certain characters. And I love certain characters, and I'm in a privileged position where I can kind of exact my preferences, but I shouldn't be doing that. I should be talking to the fans here and online. I kind of listen to what they say, and I don't want to cloud my judgment just because of what I want. But it boils down to that singular thing where a fan loves Star Wars for a specific reason. So it's like, how do we ensure that all those millions of fans get exactly what they want? Which is impossible, but I don't mind having a crack at it.
Yeah, I think we see it as like a responsibility and obligation. It's almost like a trust. Like we have an obligation to give fans the product that they want. Like Steve said, it's not about us, it's about them. So, at conventions, at events, like I love talking with them and just seeing their passion and excitement and hearing what they want and then bringing it into the line.
But I will never be able to give you everything you want, man. It's just impossible. But that's a good problem to have. I'll take it. I'll take
Absolutely.
it.
That's good to hear, because Hasbro picked up another franchise as a favorite of mine pretty recently, so I'm hoping to get some. So I'm hoping to get some similar love and treatment. But what else do you have to show us? What other reasons?
Who wants to see some new product never seen before?
Yes! Me!
There we go.
I want to see you.
I can do, yeah. What's in there? So our first one that we're revealing, so these are both in the vintage collection. So 2 new figures that we're showing, that we're going to show today, and then we're revealing more stuff at our panel on Sunday.
Oh, yeah. Just a pre-warning, when I came in here, the security guard took this and went, "What's in here then?" I literally shook the bunch.
And we said, well, now broken toys. So that's great.
I'm fingers crossed.
So our first one, feel free to step in at any time, but basically, the great thing about the vintage collection, bringing that back, is that it's given us the opportunity to kind of do some tweaks and right things that were once wrong, if that makes sense.
All right.
Little quantum leap reference there. So this guy right here, other one, okay.
You want to do that one first?
That's all right, we'll roll with it. So this one right here, Han Solo in his trooper disguise for vintage collection.
Oh, baby.
First time.
Yeah,
Oh, that is
there you go.
lovely.
So this is one, yes.
You can clap, it's okay, you can clap. Follow this man.
There we go. Great guy. So we've done Han Solo in his trooper disguise in the past, but there were some things wrong with it, right?
Yeah, so I believe Han came out in his Stormtrooper disguise for the Legacy Collection 2009, I want to say. So we're bringing him back into the vintage and putting, there was never a Han Solo on vintage card. Like back in my day,
Yeah, it's crazy.
it was like, where's my Han? I had to wait till like 95 or 97 when we had the mail away for the Power of the Force. So he's coming back to his roots where it should be. So we've got a new face sculpt. It'll also include our photoreal technology, so we'll get a good Harrison Ford likeness. Comes with a remodel upper torso and a new helmet as well, new tooled helmet. So he is almost brand spanking new.
Absolutely. So great addition to our vintage line. We're really excited for him. And our next one that we're showing is another one that has got kind of a fun history that I learned more about a little bit ago. So this is our 41st Elite Clone Trooper.
Oh, there we go. Look at him there.
Yeah, give it up.
Oh yeah, lead it up.
I should have given that guy the tank. Not that. Lady, you got to give that tank back.
There we go. They can share share custody. So you want to tell us the story
This
history
one,
here?
now in England we say third time lucky. In here you say
Third time's a charm.
third time's a charm. That's
The right
it.
way,
So,
yeah.
the right way. Yeah, we said it first. I'm sure we did. So the 41st Elite Corps Trooper. It originally came out in the Black Series 3 3/4 inch figures, I believe, and we did it completely wrong. We missed off the deck on his legs and on the thighs. It was bad. It was terrible. And then we re-released it with updated deco on the legs, but unfortunately it was only mostly available in international markets, and it wasn't available in the US. So we did that wrong too. And so we thought, well, with all the prequel love that's going on at the moment, we thought, well, let's bring it back to into what's it called? The vintage collection. Thank you. The vintage collection. Well, this time we've got it right. We've even got the grey. Little details like this make a lot of difference. We've even got the grey on the gloves and the grey belt. So finally, third time lucky, and is the charm. We've got this little beggar right.
Absolutely, yeah. No, so these are two reveals that we have today. Again, if you're around for our panel, 1:15, we'll be doing more reveals. And then Steve mentioned the prequel love, which I love. I enjoyed the prequels. I was kind of that age. I'm loving the rehabilitation. I'm aging myself down. No, I'm like, what, 25? I don't know. But I think it's great to see them coming back. We do have, that's kind of what led to General Grievous, and we do have more prequel reveals coming later in the year. That's all we're going to say about that. But we're excited about that.
One of them is, oh my goodness, one of them is.
We've gone back and forth about where to reveal them.
The best.
Come on,
The
little
best
hint.
photoreal.
No, that's all we can say.
All right, I tried.
So it's a prequel. That's all you're giving us.
Items from the prequels. This year will not end without us revealing more toys from the prequels.
All right.
I promise.
Does anyone have a guess?
We aren't going to say anything.
Kid stuff. Yeah, I'm going to come and suck you one.
We will remain expressionless.
It's a Star Wars plant. I know it is.
We have perfected our poker faces.
Very good. Very good.
Oh, we're meant to be doing poker faces.
We have to.
That's why I'm not very good at cards.
Is there any character or item, anything from Star Wars that you've always wanted to make that you haven't yet?
George Shabbat. Does anyone in the crowd know who George Shabbat is? Okay, yeah. I didn't get any reaction, so.
It's that guy there.
Those are the two. We're the three people that would buy that item, basically.
I already got mine. I wanted my yak face. I wanted yak face. So with the barges coming out, thank you. If you back the barge, hands up. You back the barge.
Backers,
I haven't got one to give away. I'm sorry. But thank you. But yeah, yak face was a big one for me.
Yeah, I think that, George Shabbat.
I'll make you a George Shabbat.
There we go. A custom George Shabbat. That'd be great.
Yeah, when you leave.
I'll never leave. Why would I leave?
When you leave the team, that's the only way you're going to get it.
All right, sounds good.
So obviously there's Star Wars fans of all different ages, all different types, but what do you think is it about the Star Wars fan as a collector? Why do you think that that's such a big thing that's been carrying over since Star Wars began all the way to the present day?
I think it's you said what carries on the fandom over the years. I mean, I think it's the entertainment. Like the Star Wars trilogy, it's just, and the sequel trilogy and prequel trilogy, all the entertainment, it's just timeless, and it kind of speaks of these, universal truths, and it's just so cool. Like George Lucas, obviously a genius coming up with this 42 years ago. So I think it tapped into that kind of heartstring, and it's continued to.
I think it's basically, it's the hero's journey, and that is the story. It's like super cliche in terms of like what the story is, but the farm boy to master is wonderful. And then I really believe that it's about the design. I think it's the aesthetic of Star Wars. The
marketing.
And it's nothing to do with the marketing.
No, it's
all to do about the way it's designed. Like, it's just, the Macquarie designs are just sublime. Just like it's an X-wing. A hamburger, that's a Millennium Falcon. It's just pure geometry. And I think that just speaks to us. God, I'm getting very designery. I'm a designer, everybody. There you go.
You're right, it is.
Yeah.
It's absolutely true.
Macquarie's awesome.
Let's get all those products side by side there, so you can just give them one more look there. So thank you all for being a part of this. Really appreciate you guys.
You're welcome.
Thanks,
everybody.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Patrick. So check that out. And you said you guys have a panel on Sunday, so so check out their panel. There's going to probably be some more reveals there, and see what else is coming up for Hasbro in the Star Wars line. And coming up next, we have the cast of Lore is going to come up on stage here. If you want to keep talking to us online, you can tweet us at SYFI.